I'm ready, yeah, I'm recording.
You're recording?
Yep.
Okay, good evening, Marv Rabbi Sai. It's my pleasure to sit here and learn with you another shiur in Shabbos, Kedusha Shabbos. The geschmack and the positivity of Shabbos. This shiur is based on a program called Kedusha Shabbos. It's all about understanding and living Shabbos in a positive way. Mitzvah we're going to talk about tonight is the meaning of Lechem Mishnah. The kasha is as follows: a bunch of practical questions. When a person needs to make the mitzvah, a person makes lechem, uses Lechem Mishnah, and he only has one challah, and the other challah is in the freezer. Can you take a challah out of the freezer and use it for Lechem Mishnah? You're at a bar mitzvah. A person sitting next to you has a roll. You want to borrow his roll. Who doesn't borrow somebody else's roll? Can you eat it? It's not yours. Can you make Lechem Mishnah on it? Does it have to be yours? I can borrow Yenim's. If a person is makpid on pasakum, and the only other roll that he has in the house is a pasakum lachmaniyah, a pasakum roll, can he use it or not? If it's Erev Pesach and it's Shabbos Erev Pesach, we just had this year, and he left over with one pita for Suda Shlishis, he didn't calculate correctly. Can he use matzah on Erev Pesach? You're not allowed to eat matzah on Erev Pesach, but I'll put one in a plastic bag in one hand, and I'll hold my lechem in the other hand, and I'll make a mitzvah. Do they have to be touching each other? Can they be far apart? All these halachas we're going to discuss, and as we mentioned, we're going to learn the sugya inside. It's based on a machlekes Rashi and the Rashba, and it's two shtiklach Gemara. It's actually a very small piece of Gemara that's repeated in two places, in Brachas and in Shabbos. The way Rashi interprets the Gemara and the way Rashba interprets the Gemara is two different sugyas, and all of the things we just spoke about will be nogeya. We'll learn them based on their approach. So if you have a booklet, open up, this is what it looks like. It's Be'inyan Lechem Mishnah. Shteit Azoi. Gemara in Brachas Av Lamed Testament Beis. Omar Reb Abba. Reb Abba says, Ubi Shabbos. It's on page 5 of your booklet. First page where the Gemara, it's page 5 at the bottom, 1 on the top right corner. A person has to be boitzeya. Normally the word boitzeya would mean to cut it. That's what normally it would mean. Rashi, as we're going to soon see in Shabbos, says boitzeya. You got the right one? No, do us them days. That's the one. Okay. That's the boitzeya means, according to Rashi, make hamoitzi. That's the way we'll soon see in Gemara and Shabbos. That's the way he translates it. Boitzeya al shtei kikris. My timer, Lechem Mishnah ksiv. It says you're supposed to have Lechem Mishnah. Rav Ashi, Chazin Rav Kahana. I saw Rav Kahana. Denokat tarti. He held both pieces of bread in his hand, both chalas, not piece of bread, both chalas. Ubotza chada. Here the word ubotza, pashas, means he cut one of them. Rabbi Zeira have a botza akula sheirusa. He did the whole sheirusa. What does the word sheirusa mean? Here's a big machlokes. Rashi over here. Rashi's on the inside. Akula sheirusa, 4 lines from the bottom. Prusa gedola. When he cut the challah at the beginning of the Suda, he didn't cut kleine shtiklach, small little pieces. He cut big, fat pieces, prusa gedola, big enough that it would last him for the entire Suda. Shayadai loy lechol hasuda b'Shabbos. So he cut himself a big, fat piece of challah, as though he'd like to indulge in the Shabbos, in the Seudah. Says the Gemara, how could Reb Zeira do that? He looks like a fresser Rav Zera would go ahead and cut such a big piece of challah. So Rav Revenusa means a person is supposed to say farhingert. He's like so hungry. It's not a normal way. Amar leik, even the chol yom like ka'avid hachi ve'idna ka'avid loy mischazek k'Rav Revenusa. Since a whole week he doesn't do it, and he only does it on Shabbos, memel it's permissible. That's Rashi's interpretation. Take a look, please, on page 2, the next page 6 at the bottom. Like I said, this Gemara was in Brachas Lamed Tes. Now let's see it in a parallel Gemara. No, this is a different one. Yeah. Now let's see it in a parallel of, yes, on Daf Kuf Yud Zayin in Shabbos. Zog the Gemara, you could see where there's a little bit of the gray area alongside the Gemara. The Gemara says, it's about 7 or 8 lines on the bottom. Amar of Abba, b'Shabbos chayv adam livtza shnei kikros, a person should be boitzeya. Here, Rashi says boitzeya, birchas hamoitzi. You should make hamoitzi. So what would he do? Amar of Ashi, chazin lev kana denoka tarti, ubotzachad. He held 2. He held to. Where does the idea of getting 2 from? Because it says in the pasuk, "Veliktu," he was melaket. They gathered double Lechem Mishnah, so you're holding both of them. Nokatarti, says Rashi, oichsam biyodoi. Where does it come from? Because the Gemara says liktu ksiv. Liktu ksiv mashma achizo. Avo betzia like siv Mishnah. Notice what Rashi says right over here, very clear. Rashi says, when you make the brucha, when you take it, hold both of them. But when you cut it, you only cut one of them. So what did Reb Zera do? Reb Zera cut one of them, but he cut it very big. Says Rashi. There's an inyan on Shabbos that a person's supposed to eat a bissel amer. That's based on the Neshama Yisera. That Neshama Yisera, Rashi says elsewhere, is that a person can eat more than his normal amount. That's the koyach of the Neshama Yisera. I'll have to explain that. You know what? Let's take 1 minute to explain that. My Rebbe Scheiner used to say, "What a modne ma'aseh. That's Neshama Yisera. Mekenas noch a shtik lakigu, noch a bissel of fish, noch a potato. That's Neshama Yisera. What's the pshat? What does that mean?" So my Rebbe said a gewaldige pshat. We say in Nishmas Kol Chai, "Ilu finu mole shira kayom." If our mouth would be like the yam, Oshanena Rina Kamoin Galov, and our tongue would be like the waves of the ocean. And our bodies would be so big, we could never thank you for everything you do. Then we say a little bit later, Al Kain Ruach and Neshama Shenafachta B'Peinu, Hein Hein Yodu V'Yishabchu. The Mefarshim ask, and therefore the Neshama should say thanks. You just finished saying no matter how big it is, you can never thank the Eibishter. And then you say, Al Kain Ruach and Neshama Shenafachta B'Peinu. So my Rebbe said the Pshat Sazoy. He said like this: as big as your guf is, it's always limited. Oig Melech HaBoshen was huge, but there's finite. The neshama comes from a place, the neshama yesera is the koyach of a person to go beyond his gevul, beyond his boundaries. We have a shayches to nitzchias. On Shabbos, a person is above and beyond his physical self. Do you want to know the expression of how a person goes beyond his physical limits? On a week, he can eat so much. On Shabbos, his guf changes into such a situation. Look how much I ate right now. I ate more than the neshama yesera has the koyach to make the finite and the limited go beyond its limitations. If we're trying to give their B'nai Shalom shevach with our guf, as big as our guf is, it's limited. Aber neshama shenafachta ba'peinu veloshen, through the neshama, a person can have a shayches to nitzchis, to eternity, to the Eibishter. The Gemara says that the neshama yesera takes the physical body and allows the person to go above and beyond his or her limitations, that he can have a shaykhs. You can even eat more than you normally could eat. That's how the neshama yesheret is mahapach, the guf, to be from a limited person to being even a gresser mensch, a more rachvistic person. That's the lumdus of the neshama yesheret. So Rabbi Zeh would come and say, I'm going to now sit down to eat a big portion, a big suda, so he would cut himself a big challah. That's the way Rashi learns. Next page, the Rashba. And here we get to the meat and potatoes. The Rashba says, Rebbe Zer, and it's on page 7. Pirish Rashi, chaticha gedoyla sheyesh bei kedai lekula sherusa. A groiser shtickle, a big piece of bread for the whole seuda. V'chein pirish gam bebrachas. Ve'einoi mechuvar be'einoi. I don't agree with him. The Rashba was a Rishon, and the Rashba could argue with Rashi. Me and you can't argue with Rashi, but the Rashba could. He lived around that generation. He was a Rishon like Rashi was, and if he chose to argue with Rashi, he had the koyach to do so. The fact that you're having a big piece of bread or a little piece of bread is not what the Gemara is talking about. Is called ayin yafik, like the Gemara says in Brachas. When a balabuz cuts challah for his family, don't cut kleine shtiklach, don't cut small pieces. Shnad v'sadaf tzazan, cut a nice piece. Give all your family members nice big pieces. So just because Reb Zeh made a big challah, cut a big piece for himself, that's not a problem. Ella, you know what he did? Ella nearly debatzal kol kikras. He cut both challahs. My understanding, says the Rashba, is Rev Kahana cut one challah, says the Gemara. He made a bracha on both and cut one. Reb Zeh says 9. It's Lechem Mishnah. You have to cut, or you should cut. We'll see if you have to. You should cut both of them. Excuse me? How many challahs are you eating? You eat one at a time. Now you're cutting both challahs? That's what it means. You look like Rav Venusa. That's what it means. Like you're looking like a fresser. You're looking like you're so hungry that you have to go ahead and eat so much. That's the way I want to learn pshat. Meaning, says the Rashi, since the other Mandomer said the first person, Rav Kahana, held 2 and cut 1. So let's think now, Rabbi Isai. We have a major machloikis between Rashi and the Rashba, how to interpret Pshat the Gemara. According to the Rashba, you know why you need Lechem Mishnah? Because you have to cut both of them. You have to cut both of them. That's the reason. What's the purpose of Lechem Mishnah? Because your seuda should be a vegestalt of zwei chalas. You should not just make the bracha on 2 chalas, but you have to have an expansive seuda, zecher to the man of 2 chalas. That's what he learns. And what does Rashi say? Cut both chalas? Nobody would cut both. You have to cut both chalas. You just have to make the bracha on both chalas. The Indian of Lechem Mishnah is a seuda dikadin or a bracha dikadin. Is it just make a bracha on 2 chalas? And if it's frozen, do I have to eat it? According to Rashi, no, you don't have to eat it. It's machabrucha. So you make a bracha and there you go. You can put it back in the freezer afterwards. Because I just needed it for my bracha. Soon we'll see what that means. Taka, what's the pshat? We'll see the shtickle archaim HaKodesh. But according to Rashi, it's about the bracha. According to Rashba, the din of Lechem Mishnah din in the Seudas Shabbos. You're supposed to cut 2 rolls. And if it's gefroiden, if it's frozen, what am I cutting? And if it's not mine, so how am I eating it? So in other words, l'cha'ira, in the simple resolution to the questions we ask in our introduction to the Shul, we'll soon see in the Shulchan Aruch momentarily, we'll see who you paskin like. L'cha'ira, all of our questions boil down to one basic shaila. Whether or not the din of Lechem Mishnah is a din in the Birchas HaMoitzi, it's a choshev seuda Just like back then, when the Klal Yisrael went out to the desert and to collect the man on Erev Shabbos, L'kovet Shabbos, they were able to collect the double. So therefore, we want you to recognize and remember that macha berucha by the chalas, but then eat one challah, isn't to hate. Or it means fakert. You should go ahead, and that means it's a din in the bracha. That means that if it's just a din in the bracha, I don't even have to eat it. I just need to make the bracha. So why can't I use l'chayra? Why can't I use even pas palter? Why can't I even use lechem that, let's say, I wouldn't be able to normally eat? I just need to make the bracha. Why can't I go and use matzah on Erev Pesach? I just need to make a birchas hamoitz of baidi, even if I'm not going to go in and eat it. Or a frozen challah for that matter. But like the Rashba, that the din of Lechem Mishnah is a din in the seuda. It's a din in achilas seuda. You have to eat a seuda. If you can't eat it, and it's not yours, how are you using it for Lechem Mishnah? Now the question is, who do we paskin like? I hear the machlaikis and I hear the two opinions. We hear the lumdis of the opinions. Gavaldik. But who's the psak halacha? Let's turn the page. What's
the lumdis of Rashi? Because the Rashi makes sense that you have to eat both of them and eat from both of them.
Very good. Why? Why does the Rashi make sense to you, Chaim?
So one thing is that if you're making the bracha, you have to have hanaf on it.
Right.
What's Rashi saying that you don't need to eat?
Rashi is saying that the bracha of hamoitzi, right? Hamoitzi lechem min haaretz, right? I'm making even though I'm only eating one of the two chalas, but I'm remembering. Rashi quoted in the Lashon Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Yud Zayin. You can go back to Rashi for a minute. Rashi says liktu ksiv. The reason Rav Kahana says make a bracha on both and in cut one is because liktu, says Rashi, the mashma achiza. It's the Eibushters who gave us an abundance. So the giving of the abundance means I want to remember how he gave us all that we needed, including for Shabbos. It doesn't mean I have to go ahead and cut it. When I want to say the Eibushters, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech ha'olam, hamoitzi lechem min ha'aretz. I'm remembering and recognizing the fact that for Shabbos Kodesh, you went and sustained us by giving us on Friday. So you gave us a double of the amount. So instead of normally making a bracha of hamoitzi on one lachmaniyah, on one challah, I want to make a bracha on the liktu part, the fact that you got two of them. By the way, it's brought down in halacha that when you make the hamoitzi, FYI, you hold your 10 fingers on the challah, with all 10 fingers. Do you know how many words there are in the bracha of hamoitzi? 10 words. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech ha'olam. Hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. Kineged, says the Tur, Eser Spheres. All the 10, the abundance of blessing that comes from Shamayim all the way down. Noisein lechem lechol basar ki le'olam chaztoi. You're mekayim through this Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam hamoitzi. You took this bread and you gave it to us, and the kedusha of being able to have shefa of hashpah from you, I'm recognizing, I put all my 10 fingers so that all 10 words should be chal on these two pieces of bread that I'm making the bracha on. Okay? That's the way you make the bracha.
I have to leave. I have one more question.
Sure.
If Friday night is just zecher that some gave too, is there a different din halacha on Shabbos day?
Oh, that's the next point.
That's the next point.
That's Chaim.
Then you have to eat.
Chaim, you're not only the video man of Torah Anytime, you're also a Talmud Chacham too. Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's see what it says. So what's the halacha? Next page. So we're on page 4, number 8 at the bottom. You're supposed to make the word over here. Boitzeya, we're soon going to see, means make the bracha. Al shnei kikrei shleimos. She'oiche shneim biyodoi. You hold them both in your hand. Uboitzeya hatachtoina. You cut the bottom one. Just ovago v'davka belel Shabbos. That's on Friday night. Avo b'yoyim Shabbos oy belel Yom Tov boitzin al ho'el yoina. You make the top one. V'atam hu al derech Kabbalah. Why I'm making Friday night Ishna, the bottom one, and Shabbos in the morning I cut the top one? he says, is al pi ha-Kabbalah. He didn't want to go and say, why other than that? Says the Magen Avram, I have a problem. If you have two chalas, there's a thing called ein ma'avir and ala mitzvahs. Ein ma'avir and ala mitzvahs means mitzvah bali yotcha. When a mitzvah comes, you can't pay. If you take the wrong tefillah out of your bag, you have a problem because you're supposed to put on the shal yad first, not the shal. So you take out the shal rush. Now you're supposed to go and put on the shal rush. It's a whole problem. You're supposed to take them both out, put it underneath the bag, then take the other one because you're not supposed to be makdam the shal rush to the shal yad. But if you take one into your hand, then how do you go and put it away? So if I have the top challah and I have the bottom challah, how am I supposed to go and now skip over the top challah to make the bracha on the bottom one? I'm missing the first one. So what do I do to compensate? Says the Magen Avram Divrei Maschel Tachtoina. Bach kosav liptzoy alel yoina. The Bach said, cut the top one for this reason. Kashein huga zekenim mishanim kadmainis dein mavir ala mitzvahs. Because he said, ein mavir ala mitzvahs, you can't just go to the bottom one. V'rashal noyeg liptzoy shnehem, the marshal and the shlo said you're supposed to do both. V'li nira lahachriya. Yes. While you're saying vayechulu, pashtus on the wine, that time you have one chal on top of the other. Ubeshaz hamoitzi yikach elyoina biyodei, take the top challah v'yanichena lemata and put it below. And place it in the position below the yivtza olav, and you should be and then cut that one. No, the ones on top, right? And then when you then you go wash your hands, and then you take the top challah, right? Make an indentation as he's about to say over there. That they make a little indentation, and then you put it in on the bottom, and then you make hamoitzi, and then you cut the bottom challah. Now we're going to. That's what he says. The Vilna Gaon was noyeg like the Shla Kadosh, and the Vilna Gaon cut both. As a matter of fact, take a look at the Gaon right over here. Bir agro ha'ikar k'may shekosav rashal v'shlo lachtoich shneim. You see where I am, Rabbi Isai? Over here at the bottom, this is right over here is the Gra, this side of the page, right there, back over there. Zok, there's a little bit of the gray area. Va'ikar k'may shekosav rashal v'shlo lachtoich shneim. Kepirish ha'rashba. V'rav Haigon, like they explained, that akula sherusa. That akula sherusa means he cut both. The lepirish Rashi. The kasha that the Rashba asked on the Rashi, says the Vilna Gaon, I have that kasha too. It doesn't make so much sense to me, says the Gaon. It's kosher ma'od, my michzik ravanusa. V'gam aloshon akula sherusa doichek, according to the way Rashi says, sherusa means the meal, sherusa means what you prepared, the food. So therefore the Gaon, like we said on our introduction, the Gaon saw the Rashba and Rav Hai's going pshat better, even though the Shulchan Aruch had gezogt vi Rashi. The Shulchan Aruch said like Rashi, but the Goyin copped on like the Rashba. So therefore, and I'll add something. There are some people who have a minig to cut 12 chalalach. Some people, right? Sometimes you can see they put a challah together with 12 chalalach. Zeichel Lechem Mishnah. But yet, we do two. Why do we do two? So some people, because they zocher and shomer, because of the shnei luchos, because of Mishmer Shabbos. If you're like Shitas Rashi, how many rolls do you need for a whole Shabbos? How many lachmanya do you need to buy for Shabbos according to Rashi? 4, right? Because you're always only cutting one. If you cut both, how many do you need? 6, right? Because every meal you're cutting 2. Says the Gaon, if you cut 6 in half, you have 12 chalas. Throughout, if you'll cut 2 Friday night, right, that'll be 4. Another 2 Shabbos in the morning is nach 4, and another 2 for Suda Shlisha. So there you have your 12 rolls. So the Gaon said, Ale drai sidas, you cut, each time you cut 2, so 6 times 2, because you cut all 6, you have 12 rolls. So you end up having the remez of the Shtei Mesrei Chalas al Yidei, each time cutting Lechem Mishnah. So So Mamela, when you hold them together, you make the brachas hamoitzi. If you want to be yoitza shitas hagoyin, you hold them both, and you make an incision. You cut both of them. You don't have to worry about the bottom one and the top one because you're cutting both together. And this way, you're also getting. But you also have to make sure you buy 6 rolls before Shabbos. Which one does he eat from then? That's a good one.
If anything, the bottom will be on your plate first.
I didn't think about it, grada, but l'chayra, yeah, maybe from the bottom one. Yeah, after, yeah. Okay, lomer gain abissal weiter. Let's go a little bit weiter. Now, I'm going to skip ahead. Because I do want to also get to, it finishes at 10:30, and I want to get to the Orach Chaim HaKadosh before we finish as well. You can take these booklets home with you, and forget, I want to encourage the Olam. This is just one shiur of many. There's so many different sugyas that are discussed with practical halacha and the gishmakkeit of doing Shabbos in the nicest way. Okay, so let's see. In Shmira Shabbos Kilchosai, on page 13, Shmira Shabbos Kilchosai says, Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, letter Yud Aleph. It's on page 13 at the bottom, which should 8 be on top. Lechem parus hanosim betoch sakit. Sliced bread. You have a sliced rye bread. Here it is on top. You have sliced rye bread in it. Can I use that for Lechem Mishnah? Ein nechshev kelechem shalom. Your problem is it's not considered a shalom, and you're supposed to make Lechem Mishnah on the shalom. It's already considered. Mutter letztar Lechem Mishnah lechem kafui. You're allowed to use frozen challah, shirak achshav hoitziuhu mitak, which you just took out of the freezer. You can go ahead and use it. Okay. And the reason, if you learn like Rashi, is zicher git, because Rashi says you'll have to make the bracha on it. If you learn like the Rashba, you have to cut both. But by the time you finish, you go through your Suda a little bit, it'll already defrost and be able to eat some of it as well. So you can even be yaitz according to both opinions.
Are you allowed to put it back in the freezer right after?
According to Shittas Rashi, you certainly could. According to the Rashbas.
Okay, you could have even didn't, so you put it back in?
Yes, you could put it back in. Yeah. Ve'im ein lechem sheni lechem mishnah. If you don't have another bread, yachol hu lishoil lechem mishchenoi. You can borrow bread from your friend. Levarach berchas hamoitzi v'levtzoy alei min halechem shaloi. You cut your bread, you give it back to him. There is a tzad in halacha that talks about that when you're cutting, that's the other one, that when you're cutting, you should cut holding on to both of them. Even though you're only cutting one, but you made the bracha on both, and the shnatz from Lechem Mishnah. You're doing one challah, but you're taking it from the Lechem Mishnah. So if you notice the lashon of the Shmira Shabbos Kilchosai, he could have written machamoitzi and give it back. That's not what he said. If you pay attention, levarach berchas hamoitzi, v'livtzoya min lechem shaloi, cut off a piece, v'lahachser lebalav shaloi, and then give him back his piece, right? And then give him back his piece. Okay? Azoy zokter. And mutter letztav lechem mishnah gam min lechem she'ena oichle achshav. You can go ahead and use lechem mishnah even from lechem you're not going to eat now. Im mitzad she'ena roa achshav mitzvah. So you can go in belela seder. V'av she'ena yotza b'matzah she'ena shmura. Even though you can't use matzah she'ena shmura, v'im yesh lo rak matzah shmura achas yochel letztav matzah she'ena shmura. Even if you had only one matzah shmura, and the other matzah was matzah, but it's ain't a matzah shmura, you can't eat it leila seder. Not supposed to. You could still use it. Im mitzad chomer ba'alma. So the halach is you can rely on that too. Okay, that's Yenedin. Let's see. Let's skip ahead now. There's so much in the little bit of time. Like I said, you can take this with you. In Kovetz Halachas from Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky, Zol Zayin Gesund. Letzaref Lechem Mishnah challah kufo she'ela she'asur b'achila. Can you have frozen challah, borrowed challah, or challah that you can't eat? Also, yochel letzaref Lechem Mishnah kikar kafui. You can use frozen challah, she'ela, she'ena r'shoyla oichla, which you're not supposed to eat. Va'afilu pas she'ena oichla machmas isra, going pas akum v'chadoima, yochel etztaref. Says Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky, you can go ahead and use it. That is halacha yutes. Next page, halacha chav. But say ashtei kikra shleimus. You're supposed to cut kiloima, she'oichish shteihem biyodeh b'shas berachas hamoitzi. You hold both of them in your hand when you make hamoitzi. V'kishayomer Hashem, when you say Baruch Atah Hashem, Magbiyah Shnei Kikros, you pick them both up. According to Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky, you don't have to hold on to them only when you're making the bracha v'lo b'shas b'tzia. It's actually an interesting machlokes, which you'll see in the booklet, where there's some opinions that hold you can't just make a moitzi and put it aside. You have to actually hold on to it and cut one from two. But that's a machlokes in the mefarshim, and Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky held that you make the bracha on both. You could put the other one aside and just cut one.
Put one on top of the other.
They don't have to be touching each other when you make the bracha. They shouldn't be in a plastic bag. That's one of the shilas. You take a frozen challah out of your freezer, you take pitot, and it's still in the plastic bag. If it shouldn't be in a plastic bag, that's also a shilah. Let's spend the last few minutes. We'll go to the end of this booklet and read the Orach Chaim HaKudosh. If it's wrapped, you should take it out of the bag. You should take it out of the bag. Vayivarech Elokim es Yom Hashvi'i. Last page. Vayivarech Elokim es Yom Hashvi'i vayikadesh oisoi. Rashi over there brings a memory from Chazal. Vayivarech Elokim, he blessed Yom Hashvi'i. What did he bless it with? Berchosoi b'mon. That's what Rashi brings out. That a mon you'll have, that on Shabbos there won't be any mon falling, it'll fall from Friday. Rabbi Simcha Bunim Berger bercha b'mon. Asks Orach Chaim HaKadosh, when this statement was written, Vayivarech Elokim es Yom Hashvi'i, it was Sheishes Yemei Bereishis. It was Shabbos. There was no Yidden yet, there was no mon yet. How can you say Vayivarech Elokim es Yom Hashvi'i noch in Shabbos Bereishis about the mon that's going to be in the future? That's the bruchas of noch nish do. It's not here yet. What did Chazal want? How's the Pasha Pshat? And up until the mon came down, so there was no bracha. Had to wait till then, but it says Vayivarech Elokim es Yom Hashvi'i right away. That's Orach Chaim HaKudesh's kasha. Festa kasha. Let's see it inside. It's only a remez of a pshat lo yidabra zman ma'azmanim hasidim. He can't be talking about in a pshat because of the month that's going to happen later on. It doesn't make sense. V'anochoin b'mashmos hakosov. The pshat sazoy ki lihiyoy sha'olam hazeh tzorech l'shefa mekayim. The way the Eibishter created the world was that the Eibishter created us as deficient human beings. We need to be sustained. You need to eat. You want to go a day without eating? Gesundheit, right? You want to go 2 days without eating? Ochig. 3 days, you're pushing it. But you have to eat. You have to drink. You have to breathe. Chaim needs to be sustained. It needs to be sustained. During the Sheishis Yemei HaBereishis, the Eibishter put Adam in Gan Eden and said, you don't have to work for your food. It's like money grows on trees, the fruits grew on trees. Whatever they needed was there until they got kicked out of Gan Eden. And now, B'zeyas apecha toicha lechem. B'zeyas apecha toicha lechem. You have to work for it. V'tzorchei odom kulam musogim al yedei toirach v'yegia hagashmias. The muzzin of a person requires us to be involved with tircha, with yegia. Yeitzei odom lepoy aloy. I mentioned Avgein Arbiten. V'chulen hi. And while he's doing that, he's involved with the mundane. Vashem, when he wanted Mekadosh Shabbos, the Kiddush he wanted to give on Shabbos was, you don't have to make yourself, I'll say the word in Yiddish, then I'll explain. You don't have to make yourself wochendik. You don't have to make yourself weekdayish. You can keep the sanctity of Shabbos. It will be self-sufficient. When you come on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, when they had to go get the mun, they had to go out and get their food. If not, they didn't have what to eat. If you left your mun over there, then you came home, you just invited. This shemesh came out of the nomos and you didn't get anything. You had to go get it. But on Shabbos, you didn't have to get it because it was already provided during the week. So the Kedusha of Shabbos was, you don't have to you have to be mechalel yourself and act chulendik. You don't have to get involved in the mundane. I'll let you stay Shabbosdik, because what you need or what will have to happen will be taken care of for you already during the weekday. Hagam she'ein toives ha'olam ha'shofel max museges ma'aprecious v'akadusha elam esek ha'choil, even the world. It doesn't, the toives ha'olam ha'shofel doesn't have, only reason it gets anything is because of its involvement in this world. Afal pikein, Bercha, he was mevarech Shabbos yechser tuv, v'oidloi shu yoiser al shar yomim. It'll have more than all the other days. It'll have Lechem Mishnah for shalish sudas tanugim yisayim, v'zuhi berchosai, which is heifach haseder. That means that Shabbos simply is a day that is different than all other days, where it's not a part of the regular teva of the world. In the regular teva of the world, a person prepares and he has. A person's not teireach hot nicht. Auf Shabbos darf's nicht teireach sein, because you'll get the shefa of the weekday to last for Shabbos, and that's mistama why the oz gabas, what you spend on Shabbos, is not part of the cheshbon, because Shabbos' eating is not a choyel dika eating. It's not a weekday eating. It's a kedusha Shabbos eating. V'lamash apirish b'zoyer HaKadosh ki b'yoyim HaShabbos mishtal shel HaShefer shel kol sheishis yimei HaBreishis. All of the good, ki hi mikor HaBracha, all of the good that comes down to the world comes through Shabbos. Yechaven al zeh v'yomer v'yevorech ki vo yitziv Hashem es HaBracha l'chayis olam. Ad kama that a person is connected to Shabbos Kodesh. What's the koyach of Shabbos? What's the koyach of a Yid on Shabbos? We'll finish with this. If the Shabbos' Kedusha depends on Klal Yisrael, it's as holy as we make it. In a certain sense, Shabbos needs us. We need Shabbos, but Shabbos needs us. It's a two-way street. Let us say for a moment, let's imagine, chas v'shalom, if in the entire world, not one single solitary person, chulila, nobody kept Shabbos. No one. And I mean nobody. No one kept Shabbos. How would it be perceived? Where would you see it? Where would it exist? It's only because we keep it. Shabbos is only shayach because we make it. La sois es ha-Shabbos. Koyach v'nayid is la sois es ha-Shabbos. We mach the Shabbos. So the Kedusha of Shabbos is mamish mitlatoli in us. So therefore we become the source of Kedusha Shabbos. So we become the tzinor through which the shefa of bracha of Shabbos comes down. Klal Yisrael mikadshim es ha-Shabbos, because we're lasses memach that Shabbos. So then the Eibishter gives us the wherewithal to be be Shabbos Yidden. Therefore, you don't have to go out and sweat for this. And fakert, any cheshbon, anything, your meat board, your sushi, your fish platters. I know that people say, yeah, too much kashmirs. But if you do it for Shabbos Kodesh, and you really have in mind the right reason, and you really just want to be mahana your family, you want to be mahana under a Yidden, then it's 100%, then you're doing an act of chesed. And it's true, there's so much kashmirs and this, but we can take everything and use it for the right reason. When you're doing it lekavod Shabbos Kodesh, but you really mean it lekavod Shabbos Kodesh, because then you show how special the Shabbos is. You give Shabbos its personality. That's the pshat in being the Makar HaBracha. Vayivarech Elokim es Yom HaShvi. So Shabbos, let's finish off. You take the two breads, you show the shefa. I know I'm only eating one. Chaim asked, I know I'm only eating one, but we'll see. But the bracha habach from Baida. I have the bracha that I have a shefa. I don't have to eat both to have the shefa of the Shabbos. The fact that I already have two, that I have an abundance, that I have more than I can eat, is already a raya to the shefa that a person has. And why did we have it? Because Klal Yisrael took it as an initiative to be Shomer Shabbos and to create that Shabbos. So Ma'ala Zoichazam, Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach, to be Ma'anig the Shabbos, to be use the Shabbos as a Makar HaBracha in our lives and for all of those around us. Shkoyach.